Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I can see some of your smiling faces there out in the clubs. So thanks for joining us this afternoon. Um, so with no further ado, introduce you first to our presenter today, who's going to, over the next half an hour or so take us through a bit of a journey on our topic of golf course robotics today. Reason we have partnered up with Jonathan from Husqvarna's to present today is that it's become apparent in the last 6 to 9 months that maybe what we thought we knew about robotics, having looked into things maybe 2.5 years ago when it first became a real hot topic for managers, was that the industry and the market has moved on. Technology has certainly moved on. And what we're looking to achieve today is firstly to kind of say this is what's out there and this is where the technology is at now. And then most importantly, at the end there to ask Jonathan any questions that you may have relating to anything he discusses today, really. So without further ado, as I continue to let people in from the waiting room, Jonathan, I
Yeah.
will hand over to your good self.
Okay. Is the screen sharing working there? Excellent. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. So my name is Jonathan Snowball. I work at Husqvarna in the UK. We're a global company, and I head up the professional development in the UK. Bit about my career. So I've actually been at Husqvarna for 15 years now. So most of my working life have been at Husqvarna. So in terms of what we're going to cover today, a short introduction to Husqvarna, who is Husqvarna, and really the focus is going to be on our robotic lawnmowers in golf, and the challenges that we see, in golf greenkeeping, what benefits you can get from using robotic lawnmowers, how they work, also the financial benefits, and yeah, hopefully, answer a lot of the questions that you guys may have. I'm kind of basing this from a starting point of people not knowing anything about robotics. They might have heard of them, and so this will help you understand, the fundamentals of how they work. So, starting off a bit about Husqvarna. So, who are Husqvarna? This kind of new player in golf. So Husqvarna has a rich history dating back to 1689. So we are 335 years old, and we have a history of innovation and being at the forefront of whatever industry we play in. It all started with producing guns for the Swedish Army back in 1689, and then we were heavily involved in the early development of the combustion engine, and we then applied that technology within a wide number of applications, such as fitting them to push bikes, then into motorbikes, and then chainsaws in 1959. And then, crucially, for what we're discussing today, in 1995, Husqvarna invented the very first robotic lawnmower in the world. And it's evolved a lot since then. And so this year, if you're good at maths, we're celebrating our 30 years of robotic lawnmowers in 2025. So we have we will focus on the robotic lawnmowers today, but we also have a very wide portfolio for all different types of green space management. So from hedge trimmers to chainsaws, and we also have the option to further reduce emissions with our battery-powered machinery for professionals. So these are all tools that you will be seeing, used on a golf course. So, firstly, when we're dealing with golf courses, and before we look at the robotic lawnmowers, let's look at the challenges that we see when we're dealing with golf course maintenance. So, firstly, a big challenge is labour. There is a labour crisis in the industry. It's a few things. It's finding skilled labour. There's the cost of labour rising, and then also retaining staff. So a real challenge for the golf greenkeeping teams when we speak with them. Secondly, we've got the increasing costs and the challenges that they pose. So, the cost of running a golf course, fuel for traditional turf machinery is always, a big bill for golf clubs. Labour's increasing, and it's the labour to really drive, these turf maintenance machinery. And then the third one on there is around playing quality. And so this is where the expectations from the players have really changed in recent years. And it's a higher expectation on the quality of the playing surface. And it's now a year-round game. You know, it's not just a seasonal, spring, summertime game. People are expecting to be able to play through those winter months. And as a result of that, there's less time for maintenance. The weather conditions stop maintenance. And then also environmental issues such as noise level and emissions around the players. And so we believe our robotic solutions can help to solve many of these challenges. So I'm going to cover it in three sections. Firstly, the key benefits to the robotics, the application of them, so where they can work on a golf course, and then how we manage the robotic machines. So firstly, the key benefits of working with Husqvarna autonomous solutions. We can provide a premium turf quality from frequent cutting. We can reduce operating costs. We can free up time for more detailed work and value-added tasks. We can increase safety for the greenkeepers. We can help reduce your carbon footprint and support you on your sustainability journey. Low noise emissions, low weight, meaning that the low impact on the turf, a very flexible operation, so you can work on multiple areas and change the settings, and then we can really increase player satisfaction. So next I'm going to go into more detail on how we achieve this. So the principle of working with robotic lawnmowers is it's an everyday cut. So we can cut every day, and the health of the grass will be improved by only cutting less than 1/3 of the grass blade every time we go out to cut. So because we can go out and cut every day, it means the grass isn't growing, quite a bit, and then we cut it down a lot. It's that cutting a little and often principle, which means that we can, really improve the quality of the grass. And as well, small grass clippings will act as a natural fertilizer when they are returned to the ground there. So we achieve this basically through a razor blade cutting system. So this is the underneath of one of the robotic lawnmowers. This is a cutting disc, and all of our machines have either 1 or 3 cutting discs. And the idea here is we're cutting the grass every day with these razor sharp blades, which result in a healthier grass and a consistently dense and strong turf there. This holds true in wet conditions as well. The clippings act as a natural fertilizer, basically returning nitrogen into the ground. And when compared to a traditional ride-on lawnmower, the robotics are a much lower weight, resulting in less compaction of the turf and the ground, which means that there's then less requirements to aerate, more frequently. And as well, because of the low weight and nature of these machines, we can also cut through the winter season. So if you imagine the wet winter that we had last year, where greenkeepers were struggling to get the heavy machinery out to cut the turf, and the players were complaining, we were still able to get out and cut there with the robotic lawnmowers last winter. So there is a real shortage in skilled labour in greenkeeping, and let's be clear that these robots do not replace people. And what they allow the course managers to do is redeploy skilled labour to other areas of the course. So instead of having a skilled greenkeeper sat on a machine going up and down all day, they can be performing more crucial qualified tasks. And so with them being able to do this, the robotics could be taking care of the fairway, for example, whilst they're, focusing on the green. And so it can result in a much better golf course experience for the players. We can also add safety to the team. These can work in areas which can be very dangerous for the greenkeepers to be working on, such as very steep slopes, working alongside water, and those kind of areas. A great benefit that we see here is that a switch to autonomous turf care solutions can really reduce a golf course's carbon footprint significantly. The machines emit zero direct emissions whilst in use, and of the product's, say, complete life cycle, you can cut your overall emissions as much as 83% compared to a traditional diesel-powered ride-on mower. And the comparison that we see in the graph here is a 30-week cutting season with a 25 horsepower diesel machine up against one of our robotic lawnmowers, the Ciora model. The Ciora was powered by EU mix electricity, and the P525DX is powered by standard diesel. And also, we conducted a life cycle assessment, which was performed by an accredited analyst called Rambo. And this is then reviewed as well by a third-party reviewer called the Research Institute of Sweden, which is RISE, the acronym. And so working with Husqvarna could, in this area of your business, reduce carbon emissions by 83%. So we can really partner with you on your sustainability journey. In terms of noise pollution, you've obviously got noise pollution, which can affect, the local neighbours and neighbourhood to the golf course, but as well the players that are used to having to work around the traditional machinery. So the Husqvarna robotics operate at very low noise levels. This test was carried out by Husqvarna's Department of Sustainability and our sound lab. It was conducted in an open park area, and it's a Husqvarna 520 robotic lawnmower up against a P524 petrol ride-on mower. At 10 meters distance, a traditional ride-on machine emits the same noise levels as a diesel truck, so that's 85 to 90 decibels. At 10 meters, a robotic lawnmower emits the same noise levels as an ambient neighborhood kind of noise level. And then at 20 meters, a robotic lawnmower can't be heard at all. So what we can achieve here is a much quieter golf course for the players and the surrounding neighborhood. So in terms of this player satisfaction that I mentioned, we can really provide great benefits to the players. We can provide consistent turf quality in all conditions every day, which means no matter what day they turn up to the golf course, they can expect good playing conditions. There's less distraction in terms of noise levels on the golf course. If you think, when do the greenkeepers want to cut the turf? During the day. When do the players want to play? During the day. So there's a natural clash there. No fuel fume emissions from the robots when you're working around them. Less grass clumps left behind, even in the wet conditions. We have wheel brushes on the machines that prevent that. And what you will see is an improved standard in other areas of the golf course, since the greenkeepers will have more time to focus on that detail. And as I mentioned earlier, in the winter months, we can continue cutting, to keep holes open, basically. So overall, a more consistent experience can be achieved with the Husqvarna robotics. So in terms of the application, where can we cut? Where are we managing on golf courses currently? So firstly, what you can see here is we can cover most areas of the golf course. The blue area that you see here is the fairway, and this can be covered by our large-scale machine called Ciora. And this can cut down to 10 millimeters on a fairway. And you usually see, fairways maintained from 10 up to 12, 13 millimeter in the summer season. And then for more complex and smaller areas, such as semi-rough, rough areas, and surrounding areas, we have our brand new 580L EPOS, which again can cut down to 10 millimeters. But the beauty of this machine is it can work in those tight areas, more complex contours, etc. And then finally, for the really hard to reach areas where you've got steep slopes, hard to maintain areas, we've got our 535 all-wheel drive EPOS. So this is a four-wheel drive platform, and this can handle up to a 70% incline, which is 35 degrees, basically. So these are the kind of areas that can currently only be maintained by a person with a brush cutter, or maybe dangling a hover mower down there. So we really take care of that safety aspect there. Now, what you'll notice here is we're not cutting the greens. And so the idea here being, The robotics can take care of the fairways, the semi-rough, the rough, the complex areas, which allows the greenkeeping teams to focus more time on, really dialing in to making the greens the best they can be. Okay, so it's basically everything except for your greens, and in some places we will cut the tees as well, but that's another area that often the greenkeepers will continue to maintain. Okay, so what you've got to do here is think of these robots as a workforce, and you would manage their routines the same way that you would manage a greenkeeping team. So, firstly, we have what we call our golf 24-hour cut. So this is the top quality finish and denser turf, and this will be cut and presented every day. So it's a 24-hour schedule. And on here, we'll be cutting as low as 10 millimeters. We then move on to our standard cut, which is a 48-hour schedule. And so this is your rough, semi-rough areas, and this is cutting every second day. We call this normal quality, still a very good quality, and always looks like it's just being cut. And then our kind of maximum schedule is cutting every third day. So that's on a 72-hour schedule. So this could be your rough areas, your surrounding areas, cutting every 3 days, lower density turf. But what we find is that, with the robotic mowers cutting every 3 days, we're still cutting more frequently than a traditional mower there. So the result of these cutting schedules means that a course is always very well presented every day of the week. Fairways every day, rough areas every 2 days, and then your rough and surrounding areas every 3 days. So it's that consistency that we achieve there. So as I previously mentioned, you manage this, a fleet of robotic lawnmowers, like you would manage a workforce. So I'm going to explain how that works and how you achieve that. So historically, the robotic mowers worked with boundary wires in the ground. That was required to basically map the perimeter of an area. Now, the difficulty with this is once you put a cable in the ground, your installation was essentially fixed and you couldn't alter it. So with Husqvarna EPOS, they are all now controlled via a satellite-based system. So EPOS stands for Exact Positioning Operating System. And we use a technique called RTK-GNSS. That's the technology that we're using. And what we're combining here is the satellite signal, internal sensors in the machine, and then a reference station placed on site. And that reference station basically allows us to take that satellite data and hone it into an accuracy of 2 centimeters, so we can get a really precise accuracy there. So no boundary wire required in the ground, and it means that we can have a flexible installation that can be changed. So for example, you could set one day you could set a stay out zone, you could change the operating areas for events, you could change it if you're doing maintenance on the golf course as well. So we control the robotic lawnmowers through an app called Husqvarna Fleet Services. This works on a phone, a smartphone, a tablet, or a computer. And what you can see on the example here on the phone is a machine status. So it shows that the machine is mowing. It shows that it's covering fairway number 4, and that's the tees and the rough area. It's 32% complete. The schedule that it's working is 9 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, and it's cutting 55 millimeters on the rough. Now, anything that you see there, you can change that within the app. So, for example, you can change the cutting height, and one mower can manage different areas of the golf course simply by switching the cutting height. You don't have to switch that live; it's all programmed, but you can go in and alter that on the fly. It's electric height adjustment on the machine, and that's controlled in the Fleet Services app, and you can also set it into schedules. And so it means one mower could be, adjusting its height down to 12 millimeters on the fairway, 20 millimeters in the semi-rough, and then 55 millimeters in the rough, for example. And the electric height adjustment will change it as it moves to the different zones there. There's also a really intuitive way to define the schedules in Husqvarna Fleet Services. You can adapt the cutting times to minimize disruption in play. The machines are also certified to work amongst people, so you could have them working during play on the golf course. What we find is golf courses might update their, the rules to the players about, playing around the machines. The classic one: do not aim golf balls at the robotic mowers, although they are very good targets. Please don't do that, and don't interfere with them. But it's all about being able to adapt that schedule around the working tasks. You can set it around dew times, irrigation times, other weather-related circumstances, or even if you're carrying out some turf maintenance jobs on the course, you can just quickly adjust that timer. You can also park all of the mowers at the same time, say if you've got adverse weather conditions, such as snow forecast, or like the storms that we experienced at the weekend. Within the app, you can control different mowing patterns. So there's 4 different patterns that can be selected there. The angle can also be altered to suit the location best. And selecting the cutting pattern is about either optimizing the cutting efficiency, so allowing it to cover a larger area more efficiently, or it could be as simple as how you actually want to present the turf. So what you can see here is a parallel cutting pattern, which is just straight stripes. Okay, so it could be down to preference on what you want the finish to look like there. The Fleet Services app that we've been talking about there isn't just for the robotic lawnmowers. It can also be used to manage a full fleet of machinery, from chainsaws, hedge trimmers, brush cutters, ride-on machinery, and it can also be used on other branded machinery, not just Husqvarna, by fitting one of our sensors to the machine. I'm also we're very proud to say that all of the professional Husqvarna robotics are made in the UK. And this is the factory that supplies these globally as well. So, a great thing for the UK to have that. They are designed in Sweden and then made in the UK. Our factory is in County Durham in the northeast of England, and the factory is powered by 100% green energy and renewable energy. We have targets at the production facility to reduce our carbon footprint each year. And since we started producing robotic lawnmowers there in the late 2000s, we've now produced over 4 million robots in the UK that have been sold across the globe there. Every machine goes through a series of quality checks on all of their functions, and it is a highly automated production facility now. So an amazing production facility, and we do quite often, take customers there to visit it. Okay, so the final section that I'm going to cover here is about the services by Husqvarna. So about that experience, of buying into the robotics and how that works. So firstly, all of the robotics are sold and installed by a network of Husqvarna dealers. And for golf, we have a specialist dealer network called Pro Partner Dealers. And they have special access to the golf range of robotics that we've been looking at today. And they offer the best service capabilities. The large-scale mower, for example, that I mentioned is called Ciora. And if you purchase a Ciora, we conduct a process called hypercare, and this is what our expert dealers will provide to you and your team, and it will basically give them everything they need to get started and succeed with Ciora and our robotics. So there's a pre-installation visit for planning and optimization of the robotics, on-site installation and instructions and training on how to manage the fleet. And then follow-up visits, after the first month, within the first month following installation. Now, what we recognise is that it's quite a high investment for a golf course to invest into robotic lawnmowers. And so in 2023, we launched three new service packages. Firstly, we have Lease Plus, which is a fully operational lease package, which I'll cover in more detail on the next slide. Next, we have Service Plus, which is a yearly service package. So that's a service usually over the winter period. And then finally, we have Warranty Plus, which is that real peace of mind to extend the warranty up to 5 years on these machines. So Lease Plus, this is an operational lease, and what this allows you to do is move away from that upfront cash purchase, the capital expenditure here, and move this over to an operational expenditure. So you can know all of the costs involved from the start. No hidden costs there, which will really help with financial planning. These are split over monthly payments, and with Lease Plus, it includes many things, but obviously the equipment, the machinery is on that lease. The installation of them is included from the dealer, yearly service, insurance, which covers against theft and many more things, and the blades that you need for the machines, and lots of other good things in there. So what we're now seeing is many golf courses are really opting into this leasing solution as a much better way to manage their costs. So that is proving to be really popular. Now, if you are interested in learning a bit more about our robotics, you can scan this QR code. It will also be sent out on a link after. And you can read more about the benefits of becoming a fully automated golf course with Husqvarna Robotics. We've got a great customer testimonial and customer journey details on there from Caris Green, who now operate a large fleet of robotics and are basically covering all of their fairways and rough areas with Husqvarna Robotics there. And it's great to hear Warren, the course manager, talk about his journey on that QR code there. If you want to do a little bit more than just learning about them, then you can make an inquiry. If you scan this QR code and fill in your details, then that inquiry will then come through to me. And I have a team spread across the UK who can come out and visit your golf course. We can conduct a survey. We'll meet with you and understand what your challenges are and what you're trying to achieve. And we can make recommendations on how to automate some or all of the golf course. And what we find is some golf courses will maybe just buy one machine, one small machine or one large scale machine, really just to test how it can work in their schedule and what benefits they can start to see coming through from having the robots, and then add on to the range later on. You don't have to go all in with them. We do get courses now that have visited other golf courses and seen the robotics in use there, and so they're already sold on it, who may buy into 2, 3, 4 machines from the start. But that's where we can work with you to understand, what you're looking to achieve there. Sorry, that's my phone ringing. So yeah, if you scan that QR code, your details will come through to me, and someone from my team will get in touch with you. So thank you for listening today. It's been an absolute pleasure for me to present to you all. Hopefully that wasn't too much information. I did try and keep it light there. And yeah, hopefully look forward to hearing from some of you soon as well. So the QR code's on there again, and they will be shared after as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. We will, as I said at the start, open for any questions that people have shortly. We've just got a few that have kind of come into us over the last few months, which was one of the prompts for us to put today together. So moving back to a few years ago, there was some concerns around sort of battery life, that sort of thing. How long would a battery last before it needed to go back to be recharged for on your typical mower?
Yeah, so the idea here is that they're autonomous, so you're not worrying about that.
Hmm.
The machines go back to a docking station and charge automatically. so that's not a concern for you. The battery capacity, depending on the density of the grass, how complicated the installation is, varies. But you could cut a few fairways, for example, two or three fairways, and then the machine would go back in and charge. So it really calculates it all itself. It's not something that you have to
Mhm.
worry about.
Sure. And in terms of, there are a lot of golf courses, as you be aware better than anybody, that might have something like a public road running through the middle of it. So then I would imagine that comes to the situation where the docking station for these wouldn't necessarily be at the greenkeepers' sheds. What's sort of security like when that's the case in terms of the units that they go back to charging?
Yeah, so actually, the machine doesn't have to dock and charge where it's working. What we set up is something called transport paths, and we can also set maintenance positions. So you can have, if you've got a fairway with that public footpath, you can have it charging, well away from that. And what the machine would actually do is drive to the area that it's going to cut. You'll then also set transport paths between each area and each fairway, so you're in complete control of that. And what you can also do is set maintenance points as well. So every 2 weeks, it might drive to the greenkeeper's sheds for a clean and a blade change. Yeah.
Sure. But when you've got when you've got docking stations that are away from the greenkeeper's shed, so I think about where I used to work at Long Ashton in Bristol. It has a public road that runs through the middle of the golf course. So I could imagine were they to go down the road of robotics, they'd probably have some that never cross that road unless it's for maintenance because it's a pretty busy road.
Mm,
How is security for those, if you've got these ones that live essentially not ever at the sheds,
yeah.
how secure are they from local kids with crowbars?
Yeah, so all of the robotics, including our domestic residential range, they've got an alarm fitted to them, which is very
Hmm.
loud and annoying. They're all GPS tracked, and they're all coded with a PIN code.
Sure.
So as soon as they're picked up and people try and move them, the alarm will start going off, fully tracked with GPS. But without that PIN code, you can't actually do anything with the machine.
Hmm.
We do sometimes find that there might be, someone will try and tamper with them, but they're quickly dropped and left behind because they can't stop the alarm. Um,
Hmm. Okay. So I'll combine three things because these are the last queries we've sort of had over the last couple of months. So maybe you could probably tackle them all at once, and then we'll see if anybody else has any questions on top. So, firstly, goes into what are the typical costs for these mowers? So,
yeah,
and then in a similar vein to that, how many of them would you need? So, if you were not going to purchase that fairway mower
yeah.
that might be nowadays, goodness knows how much, 100,000, if not more. If you were not going to purchase that and go down robotics, how many robots would you suggest you'd need to replace one ride on? And then finally, what's the sort of expected shelf life of that? Because a lot of our busiest machines historically maybe have a 5 year expected life before you then replace them.
Yep.
What's that like in the current market for robotic mowers?
Yeah, good questions and common questions. So in terms of cost, we have two platforms essentially. One is the Automower platform, which is your smaller machines with one cutting disc. To buy one of them plus your installation, you're looking at around £6,000. And then we have the large scale, which has the three cutting discs called Ciora. Buy one of them
Mhm.
and the installation, you're looking around £25,000. So £6,000 or £25,000.
Mhm.
Um, the second question was how many if you're looking to not buy a fairway mower.
Yeah,
Um,
so I mean, I
yeah,
guess the question, John, because you rightly said earlier on, one of the things we're keen to get across is that this is not to replace greenkeepers. This is so that skilled greenkeepers can be doing other things. So is it as simplistic as if you bought four of the larger ones for 100,000 instead of buying a fairway mower for 100,000, the win there is obviously on fuel, and you don't need a man or a woman sat on it.
Yeah. So it completely varies, course to course. But you could be looking at, you were actually right what you said there. 4 Cioras, so 25 grand each. That could replace a fairway mower, covering 18 holes, right? That's a rough calculation. You then complement that with some of the smaller machines covering complex areas, but it's different on every course because some courses come to us and say, I just want you to cut the semi-rough. Some say, I want to do a few fairways. So everyone's using them completely different.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What we find at the moment is they're still using them alongside traditional machinery, but they're really getting that saving of time and the labour there. So it's a hybrid approach, is very common. So it really varies.
Great. Okay, well, we'll open the floor. Does anybody else have any questions they'd like to ask Jonathan about
I would just
any
say
of what we've
you,
spoken
you,
about
did, you
today?
did have a third question there, which I noted around shelf life.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
suspect someone else might ask you if you don't
Okay.
answer it. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's obviously we're selling these on 5-year lease contracts at the moment.
Mhm.
So we know that they work for 5 years. We've obviously got 30 years experience with robotic lawnmowers, and the maximum life that we see is around 10 to 15 years. Uh,
Mhm.
my parents have actually had a robot in their garden for nearly 15 years now. So there's an example there. But yeah, we're really confident with at least 5 years on the lease
Okay,
package
great.
that we've done.
Okay, if anybody does have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. Mhm. Mike, you're muted, Mike. So if you are trying to ask a question,
Hi there.
I can hear somebody.
Yeah, this is on Kev Hartwell.
Hi, Kev.
Right, it's actually Dave, but I'm sat here with Kev. It's with
Okay.
regard to going back to battery capacity again. You said, or the answer was that when they start to run out or they need to recharge, they trundle back to get it done. But
Mhm.
what's the sort of percentage? If you're cutting for 4 hours, is it 2 hours charging, an hour's charging, or what? What's the actual uptime for these things?
Yeah, sure. You'd be looking around 20 to 30% would be charging time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's quite reasonable. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I've unmuted myself now. So,
Mike, you're with us. Well done.
and thank you very much for putting this on because it's quite interesting, and I think it's always good to sort of look forward of what is to come. Jonathan, I've got two questions. We're just building a complete new driving range. Do
Yeah.
you guys do things that sort of will pick the balls up as well, like an automated system? That's sort of my first question. And then the second really is more like, can you use these machines overnight as well? And would it be recommended to not be in the way of golfers?
Yeah, two good questions. Ball collection, not yet.
Okay.
But overnight, absolutely perfect. Yeah, we really encourage golf courses to have an overnight schedule if they can. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's easier to be doing it when the players aren't there. As I said in the presentation, they're certified to work alongside human beings. But yeah, overnight schedules are
Would it
great.
have any difference? And obviously, I'm not an agronomist, but cutting overnight, would that have a different on the presentation of the course? Because obviously, grass is growing at different rates, I'm sure, and sunlight, etc. So, if you were cutting overnight, would it give a different presentation to what you normally would do, like what we would normally cut during the day?
Yeah, obviously the ground's usually a bit softer overnight, so you might get a slightly different presentation. What we find greenkeepers are actually working around is the dew setting on the grass. So some of them will actually time them to go out and cut just after the dew is formed because there will actually, it's not something that we claim, but quite often a byproduct of them is that it will knock the dew off the grass clippings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Do we have any other questions for Jonathan while we have him? No? Okay, that's great. Well, Jonathan, if there are no other questions, just like to thank you very much for joining us today. As I said to you when we met up in Harrogate last week, this is a subject that we really feel it moves so quickly, the technology available, that we kind of felt like we needed to give a market update of what actually is available now. And thanks to everyone that's still on the call for making time to log in with us today. And as I said to you, Jonathan, we'll make this recording available for our members in about 10 days' time, for those who couldn't make today, because we always want the benefit to go to those who log in. So thanks very much to everybody, and we'll see you next time.